Are you ready?
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1461, January 13, 2025. 48 degrees was the record high on this day. That was in 1987. And on the morning of 1916, that was a Spanish flu year, wasn't it? They were dealing with 30 below. That should have killed all the flu germs.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
We have asked Pat Garofalo, former state legislator, to come in and help us with something. And Pat is in here. He's wearing an Adam Thielen jersey.
It's a big game day, Joe. Come
Apparently, in anticipation of tonight, he's chosen to wear a jersey number that is now with the Carolina team.
Pat, you look good in that jersey, my friend.
Wow. What's coming?
Wow.
Why did yesterday, and neither paper had this, so I don't know what time the DFL House members went to the Minnesota History Center to get sworn in. Neither paper has the story in the print edition. Do we know if they went over at night late to do that?
It was night, yeah.
Well, it came out yesterday afternoon, though. But
Well,
sure.
neither paper, I didn't see it, neither paper in the print edition. My point is that the DFLers are behaving like petulant children. And I'm just wondering, what was the purpose of, and I needed Pat to help us, what is the purpose of this theater that they went to get sworn in at the History Center? Who is that theatrical performance supposed to impress? What is your take on this?
So first things first, as always, thanks for having me on.
You bet.
It's good to see you guys. I love seeing you. And despite the fact that I walk into a room and get made fun of what I'm wearing and what my weight is, I still am enjoying being here. I know
If you're
one of the
gaining
guys.
weight, it's because you're not wound up having to work in the legislature.
Yeah, I could just be getting old too.
That
Might be
happens.
it. But no, it's a reasonable pain.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. So rather than just talking about this, I think you got to kind of rewind here and talk about how we got here.
All right.
All right. So for the last 2 years, Minnesota has been under a trifecta, which is the DFL has had total control.
Right.
Even though they had very narrow majorities in the House and the Senate, they had total control of Minnesota government. And in a truly unprecedented fashion, they were exceptionally aggressive in implementing their agenda. Now, they would say words like they had a bold, progressive agenda. Whatever it is, it was really without historic precedent in Minnesota. Fast forward, the election takes place. Governor Walz is running on the top of the ticket as vice president for Vice President Harris. The state house is on the ballot. Election takes place. Harris loses, Trump wins, so Walz comes back, he stays as the governor. And meanwhile, the House of Representatives, where the Democrats used to have a 70-64 advantage, it's tied 67-67.
Correct.
Okay. So if it was just that simple, then they could figure this out. But this is where things get funky. After the election, it comes out that one of the candidates, the DFL candidate, did not live in his district.
Curtis Johnson.
Curtis Johnson. And the courts in Minnesota historically have taken a very hands-off approach on this. If you can provide just any connection to your district, they'll say it's for the voters to decide, not us. You say you're a resident there, you got a bill, you live in your district. You really, really have to be a special level of foolish to not meet the residency requirement. Well, the DFL pulled it off. They found someone, and a judge
They pulled off someone with that high degree of foolishness.
Correct. And so a judge ruled that he did not meet the residency requirement. Election certificate does not go to the chief clerk. There's going to have to be a special election.
Right.
So now the House of Representatives, instead of being 67-67, is 67-66.
Right.
Okay. And that's temporary. There's going to be a special election at some point. You know, the Democrats think they're going to win it, and they probably will. But for now, it's 67-66.
Right.
Okay. Which brings us up to the first day of session, which is supposed to be tomorrow. On the first day, the Republicans will have more members than Democrats.
By one.
By one. And that's all you need, right? Republicans are slated to elect Lisa Damath as Speaker of the House. She would be the first Republican Speaker in 6 years. She would be the first black woman to be the Speaker of the House in Minnesota.
I didn't know she was black.
Yep.
Lisa is.
Yep.
Okay.
She would be the first black woman to be the Speaker of the House in Minnesota history, historic election. But again, remember, it's 67-66. This is not a permanent thing. And this sort of temporary majority, for lack of a better word, is most likely only going to be in place until the next special election.
January 28th.
And that's a whole separate issue about whether that's going to take place or not. But just for now, it's 67-66. And so for whatever reason, the Democrats are saying that there should be power sharing in the speaker's position. It should not be just a Republican speaker. Now, in terms of what this means for your listeners and viewers, it doesn't mean anything. You still need 68 votes to change the law. If you want to spend money, you want to change the law, you need 68 votes in the Senate, 68 votes in the House, 34 votes in the Senate, and the governor's signature. That's the only way a bill becomes a law. So it just begs the question is why all this fighting over what is kind of a palace intrigue and on the inside? So that's the setup to what happened yesterday. Okay, is the House is currently 67-66. The Republicans have the votes to elect a speaker. DFL members don't like that. And what Republicans have started saying is if you don't show up and do your job, you're vacating the position, and we're going to initiate recall proceedings against your members.
Do you agree with that?
No.
Okay.
I suppose let me clarify that. I would say at some point you could initiate that, right? But where we're at right now is you've got, for lack of a better way of describing it, two kids that are coming into the house crying about each other, and the courts, who are the adults in the room, and the public, who are the adults in the room, are telling them, go back outside and figure it out, right? So in the meantime, they're trying to get the upper hand over each other, present stronger legal arguments.
He started it.
He said this. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I'm happy to share with you on. But at the end of the day, this is all taking place in a dynamic where the governor and the lieutenant governor are at each other's throats. And in the state Senate, Senator Carrie Dietzig, who was a really, really good person, she passed away from cancer in late December. So the Senate is 33-33. It's just dead tied. Now the Senate, they've got a temporary power sharing agreement. They're figuring stuff out over there. But in the House of Representatives, the governor's not getting involved in this, either by accident or design. And in the House of Representatives, the Democrats want to have more control. They want to have more power than what the current 67-66 allotment allows them. And
Well, they can't. The math doesn't work for them.
right, so that's why they're staying away.
And didn't they cheat by having? They knew perfectly well that this Curtis Johnson fellow didn't live in the district.
So, I'm choosing to be like, let me just take a step back here. So you guys are like, geez, Garofalo seems incredibly relaxed or medicated today, whichever one it is. So we are in this phase here where both sides have been escalating, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody up there calming things down.
Right.
Okay. These guys have got to figure it out. They got to reach an agreement. It can't be someone else telling them what to do. And what people have been saying the last couple of weeks and whatnot, okay, is this posturing for negotiations or is it stuff they really believe? Let me just give you from the DFL perspective why I think one of the reasons they're escalating. You had the special election. They had this election out in Shakopee, right? So DFL or Brad Tapke got elected. Turns out his margin of victory was only 14 votes.
Right.
However, the county attorney recognized that 20 lawfully casted votes, totally legal and everything, got thrown away.
Yep.
And so that issue is currently in litigation. So what do you do with that? Do you order a new election? Do you let this guy get seated? There's a big fight about that. Some Republicans, because ultimately the courts can do whatever they want, but ultimately the House of Representatives decides who sits there. Some Republicans have been saying, we don't care what the courts say. We're going to boot this guy out and force a special election. I don't think that's a good idea. All right. If the courts say that the election certificate stays, I don't think elected officials should be overturning elections. But on the flip side, I don't think it's a good idea that the Democrats skip session to get what they want. And so you've got this escalation of you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, what can and cannot the Republicans do with 67 votes on the first day of session? And people need, this is a good time for leaders in elected office to calm down, take a step back, and figure out an agreement. Because ultimately, it's going to take Republican and DFL votes to change the law and do their jobs in this state. And it's not going to take the courts telling them what to do. So, is that sufficiently boring and pragmatic? Or?
Well, I
No,
still
that
want to
was-
know the point of the theatrical performance at the Historical Society.
I think part of it is public relations. They can say, well, we already took the oath of office. We don't need to be there. I think part of it is legal. They can say they took the oath of office. So now they're not, it gives them another avenue for potential legal challenges and a recall. They want to get paid. They want to, so if they're not showing up at the Capitol.
Well, they'd get paid if they showed up tomorrow and got sworn in.
Sure, but I'm saying they're creating another reason to say that they justify getting paid. Like they took the oath of office just because they're not at the state. And I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm telling you what their argument would be, is they would say, well, we took the oath of office. We're being state representatives. We're just not showing up at the Capitol, but we're doing other legislative work. We're back in our offices and stuff. It's all in a bunch of this stuff. It's not laws. It's not rules. It's social norms and social contracts. It's just stuff we agree to do. And so when people just start doing stuff and they say, screw the law, it's a bad situation. And
Isn't that what the DFL is doing?
yeah, but I mean, Joe, again, in fairness, I'm choosing to play the pragmatic card today. Isn't this what Republicans did 4 years ago when they busted into the Capitol during Trump's election?
They're fighting over control of the sandbox here, Joe.
You are. That is the best. They're fighting over control of the sandbox. At the end of the day, they have to have a person from the other side vote for their bills for them to become law. And it is incredibly short-sighted by all actors involved here to engage in just burning the place down. I understand it's trendy and it's popular on social media and you can get clicks, but boy, oh boy, you need to work with the other side of the aisle. And part of this is that, let's just be honest, the Democrats the last 2 years, they didn't need the Republicans for shit. And they kind of got used to just, they had their fights internally, but they were able to do whatever they wanted, and they kind of got used to it, right? During the emergency powers, Walz didn't have to pass any laws. He just issued proclamations. He kind of liked
God,
it.
you're right. He did.
Right? And
You get
then,
a little taste of human blood and you run with it.
well, again, it is human nature when you accumulate power to want to retain it. This is why we have all these laws, social norms, and constitutional provisions to prevent this, right? And so you've got, I can sit here and I can rip on the Dems as much as anyone, but right now, this is just a war for power. And the question is, who is going to de-escalate this stuff? Because if they just keep escalating it, it's going to keep getting worse.
But I found their power, if nothing else, financially destructive. Their power was to spend. They didn't hold back a bit. They blew a surplus. They're building a new $1 billion office building. They raised taxes. Their power, I thought, is financially destructive. It has nothing to do with the needs of the ordinary citizen.
Well, how's that different than the Republicans in Washington? Didn't they spend a bunch of money? The only difference is they borrowed it and made my kids pay for it?
Not in tax laws.
Yeah, they just borrowed the money.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I'm not saying I'm a conservative, so I certainly have plenty more to disagree with on Democrats than Republicans. But
Well, let's just forget the feds. In this state, do
Yeah.
you find that the DFL control was financially destructive?
of course, it's unsustainable. A 40% increase in the budget. there's nothing that's sustained that you can do for 40%. That's
On
just
the feds, I think I've pretty much given up trying to understand it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an unsustainable pattern of financial behavior, and they need to change their behavior, or we're going to have a disaster. But yeah, it's let's talk about that on Tuesday. But in Minnesota here, like these are the dynamics that have taken place, right? Mm-hmm. And on the Republican side, Republicans have been in the minority for 6 years, and now they get a taste of power, and they're not exactly experienced with being in power doesn't mean that I just get to tell everyone what to do. Like, you still have to work with people. Mm-hmm. So you got a bunch of people in new roles that they're trying to figure out in a very tense, highly polarized environment. And layer on top of this, like if that's not complicated enough, right? I mean, this election was shocking to many on the progressive left. There was it was a genuinely shocking number of Black, Hispanic, and minority voters voted Republican. Mm-hmm. And whether that was a one-time blip or a long-term trend, that remains to be seen, right? We'll see what happens. But that was shocking to their psyche. Walz losing in the fashion that he did was destructive. It hurt him. You've got a senator passing away. Minnesota is not California. It's not Oregon. This is pretty close to a 50-50 state. And that realization has put a lot of pressure on people who thought that Minnesota was going to be a different place. And the last election proved that it's not. It's a pretty close to a 50-50 place.
Republican leaders, do you see them on a path to screw things up in Minnesota here? Or do you think we have awakened? They've awakened a little bit rather than...
So something that I have noticed in the last 2 months, and I don't know if it's because I'm not in the legislature anymore, there's always been this sort of motto that the Democrats will play dirty, and it's always the Republicans who end up having to they get the admonishment from the Star Tribune editorial page or something like that, and right. and Republicans end up kind of moderating and calming things down. The last couple of months, something has changed. Like the Republican Party is bringing their A game in Minnesota. I mean, this just the way that the way this guy lost his residency.
Well, it's definitely needed.
Yeah, they dotted their I's and they crossed their T's. From a legal perspective, just administratively, there's much more of a sense of wanting to fight. I mean, they pulled out legal arguments this weekend that are from the Constitution's. We debated the Constitution that was created in this state, and they've got the law on their side. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where did this come from? So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you, the fact that Republicans in Minnesota have now embraced they're willing to fight. There's either going to be a compromise here, or things are going to get pretty bad, and I just don't know which way it's going to go.
Okay, that's my question. Every time you come in, we end up talking about, let's get things done. We're not getting things done. Let's get things done. Who should back down in this case in the House?
They both.
Well, who would you prefer to see back down?
They both should. And that's the answer, of course, that will piss off everybody I know. But again, we have this open court case involving the 54A election with Brad Tapke.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if the courts vacate his election certificate, then there'll be a special election, and that's the way it should stand. If, however, the courts don't do that, we adjudicate election disputes in this country, right? We don't let legislators decide who wins and loses. We don't let whoever burns down the most buildings decide who wins elections, right?
Yeah.
We have a mature court system that decides those, and if it goes down the wrong way, then Tapke should be seated. On the other hand, I don't think the Democrats, because they're short votes, should be skipping away. I think that if we're waiting on the court case in 54A, but in the event that Tapke wins that court case, I think the Republicans should seat Tapke, and I think the Democrats should show up for the first day. And every single vote anything that's going to change the law is going to require bipartisan support. So they both need to back down. They both need to be calming down. And in the meantime, we're getting the exact opposite. Now, we'll see what happens the next 24 to 48 hours, but I'll just tell you, it's not good, guys. It's not the more these guys publicly throw rocks at each other, the harder it is for them. They're painting themselves into corners, and it makes it harder for them to get out of it.
Do you think if you saw Melissa Hortman at Target, she'd be friendly? She always strikes me as not being very cheerful about anything.
Okay, first of all, Melissa Hortman, Steve Simon, Tom Emmer, and I were all elected the same year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like the greatest legislative class in Minnesota history. Just nothing but greatness. So I consider Melissa a really good friend.
Well, I mean, I'm being serious. Is she a friendly type?
Yes, she's a good. Like, do I agree with her on her politics? No, of course not.
No, not at all. Yeah.
But like, this is a person who's been Speaker of the House for 6 years. And you got to have sharp elbows in this job. And especially when you're the Speaker of the House, I mean, imagine trying to get those Democrats to be on the same page, right? So, no, she's a good person, a friend. I like her. I disagree with her politics, but no, like if you met her, you would like her.
All right. Why don't you take a break?
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Soucheray.
Well, it might be a convenient time to tell you about doing business in Sioux Falls, where they're completely busy friendly. Sioux Falls is the state's largest city, 300,000 people, low business costs, high quality of life, no state corporate or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, and no limits to what your business can achieve. I'll tell you what, I'll miss you, but we're a podcast, so you can hear us no matter where you live. It's one of the 50 best places to live for families. It's the fastest growing Midwest metro, and it's the fourth top inbound city for people to move to, according to United Van Lines. Well, they should know. Those are the big moving trucks.
The movers, yeah.
But we've talked about Sioux Falls before, and it's a great business environment. There's a ready workforce waiting. They rank second in the nation for the lowest cost of doing business. They're the most business-friendly state and the best business tax climate. And as South Dakota's biggest city, Sioux Falls is at the center of these benefits. Find out all you need to know at Sioux Falls Development. That's one word, SiouxFallsDevelopment.com. Do you think, I was heartened when you said that Minnesota is a fairly balanced state compared to, say, California. We're a 50-50 state pretty much. There's great hope there for reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, the fact that the House is right now 67-66 Republican, and the Senate is 33-33, it kind of points you to like that we're not Oregon and California, contrary to what happened the last 2 years. But what's happened is that society is getting more polarized and more partisan. And if you look at the history of the state of Minnesota, like we've had some great successes here, despite the fact that we're in the middle of nowhere and it's cold as hell, and our pro sports teams don't win any championships. I mean, besides that, it's our competitive advantage in the past has just been that we work together better than other states. And so whether it's a family,
but that's not happening now.
That's the point I'm getting to is that in the past, whether it's a family, a neighborhood, or a team, if everyone's rowing the boat in the same direction, you got a better chance of success. So as the nation gets more polarized and partisan, it is going to do more damage here than it will in other states. Because, again, our competitive advantage has been coopetition. We cooperate, but we compete. And as that erodes into more tribalistic politics, more extreme politics, it's going to do more damage. And, in fact, it already has done damage. We're seeing this, whether it's declining test scores academically, increasing costs of government, increasing number of people and money leaving our state with less coming back here, a decay in public safety in some of our largest states or communities. These are all a direct result of the root cause that we are doing a worse job of cooperating and working together. And the more extreme the agenda, the more that confrontation is going to go up. So coming back to our original topic we were discussing, the solution here is that these guys, Republicans and Democrats, need to get together and figure this out. Because if it's so bad that Democrats aren't going to show up on the first day of session, how the hell are they going to vote for anything that their leadership doesn't say is okay? And if that's what we're going to have, if it's just going to be a few people making all the decisions, then we're really in trouble.
Well, your friend Hortman has to be the one saying we're not going to show up.
Well, but again, I mean, she's accountable to 65 other members in her caucus, right? And again, I can point and tell you that it's wrong. They should show up, but Republicans should also say that they're going to abide by the court's decision in Tapke's race in the 54A state. So there is some both sides here, but I mean, damn it, we cannot normalize this. People not showing up for session because. I'll tell you this as a Republican. There's political parties have strengths and weaknesses. Republicans are way better at burning things down quicker than Democrats. We are, when it comes to getting rid of government programs and changing the law, we will move with lightning speed. And so if this turns into it where they've normalized that not showing up is okay, well, then all right, good luck with that.
Is that
Because-
something you typically brag about?
No,
Really?
I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying, if you are somebody who thinks that building up a government and building these programs is what you want, and the other side wants to get rid of those programs, it is easier, quicker, and cheaper to tear something down than it is to build something. Right? Like,
Sure.
The demo's always easy.
Yeah,
Demolition's always
right.
easy.
I didn't want to use the word demolition,
Okay.
but you get the point. Okay, so I would just caution my DFL friends, like, if you normalize this thing of not showing up, like that's a reasonable form of political protest, then it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And so they need to figure this out. Again, I've pointed out on both sides of it, but I don't understand this having a separate swearing-in ceremony. Again, I'm not saying it's illegal. I don't even know if it means anything.
Well, who's supposed to swear you in? Is there a constitutional requirement?
So this is where you get into social norms and laws and how they wrote. It doesn't say you can't do that. Well, no. But like when I got sworn in, okay, it's the first day of session. You come into the chamber. You have your family there. Like I had my mom and dad there, my kids, my godparents were there. And I think about my godmother was
What
being
about
there.
the wife? She leave her at home?
No, she was there too. Sorry. Hi, honey, if you're listening. No, it's the wife and kids. It's like, for me, that was like one of my biggest like memories. Like my godmother, who's passed away, was there, and she was so proud of me. And I think about what a big day that was, and to have that be taken away by this partisan stuff is just, it's dumb.
But who swore you in? The governor?
So the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court says, raise your hand. Mm-hmm. They say an oath. You say yes. I go, congratulations. So it sounds very basic, but then they do a roll call. There's always, it's ceremony, it's pageantry, right? But it's really important to you when you've worked your ass off to get elected.
But they acted like it was a Mickey Rooney movie, and they said, "Hey, everybody, I got an idea. Let's go to Miller's Barn in Stillwater and have our play."
Well, and again, they did it at the History Center. They had a retired judge do it. They've released some photographs now out there. And I'm sure that there are they're not stupid, okay? I disagree with these people, but they're not dumb. There must be some legal basis for it. They want to make sure they get paid, so they say, we've taken the oath of office, now we're doing the job. Those factors all getting into it. But no, I think it was but I don't, the short-term public relations stuff, obviously they look bad doing it. But I just, the legal arguments for why they would have done it seem very strange. I mean, it's not what I would have done. But it signals another level of escalation, right? So tomorrow, tomorrow, the Secretary of State will be presiding over the House chamber.
Right.
Presumably, if we believe what's happening right now, there's going to be 67 Republicans. None of the 66 Democrats are going to be there.
So they can't do anything.
Well, they can take the oath of office and organize the chamber.
Right.
Because you only need 67 votes to organize the chamber.
All right.
But Steve Simon, the Secretary of State, again, part of the greatest legislative class in Minnesota history, 2004.
I've heard that.
He said publicly, like, he's going to say there isn't a quorum. He says you got to have 68. And the Republicans say, well, there's only 133 members of the legislature. So you only need 67. And here's the source documents from the Constitution that says that. And what Steve Simon has said publicly, and by the way, good friend of mine, I mean, this shit is really landing in his lap. Like, he has to be the one that administers everyone else's decisions. He is saying that he will not recognize anyone. I believe he said this publicly. And that if there's not a quorum, he'll just adjourn the chamber session. The problem with that is that he's in a ceremonial role. He can't just adjourn. So did the Republicans then replace him as the chair and put somebody else up there and then say there's a quorum and then do the oath, then do all this stuff? If they do that, do the Democrats then try to file an emergency order at the Supreme Court saying, hey, stop what's going on in the House of Representatives. They can't do it. They're violating the there's this constant cascading of elections or of disputes. What ends up happening is more and more people just start doing whatever the hell they want, right? Meanwhile, you've got people who work in the House of Representatives. Are they supposed to, who are they supposed to take managerial responsibility instructions from? This doesn't get any better. It just keeps getting worse, and all of it boils down to the fact that these guys have got to figure it out. They've got to resolve it. So I don't know what's going to happen. I would like to think that the Republicans and the Democrats are going to get together and they're going to reach an agreement on this. That it's going to involve them saying we're going to
Today?
Well, before tomorrow.
Who's capable of doing that on the DFL side?
Oh, I mean, Melissa Hortman.
She may come to her senses politically and say, we got to get this. This is childish.
You guys keep in mind that in the legislature, it is very common that you take outrageous positions before you get to the negotiating table, so then it gives you more ground to negotiate for. Now, I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but when you're a rational actor in the legislature and you look across the table, it's difficult to tell sometimes whether people are serious or whether they're just setting themselves up for negotiations. Like, are the Republicans really going to boot Brad Tapke out of the legislature, even if the courts say he won the election? They do have the power to do it. And there's people who are making all these arguments they could, but is that a negotiating tactic?
You would
to get
err on the
leverage
side of the courts.
When it comes to seating someone?
Yeah.
You do not want to get into this precedent of politicians deciding.
Right.
And there's a case in 1979 where the Democrats did that. They booted out a guy, a Republican, when it was tied, so they could get a partisan advantage. There's a fascinating read about that. So this is something Democrats have done in the past. I would just submit you do not want election disputes being resolved by politicians of either party.
Right.
You may not agree with it. You may disagree with it. Let the courts decide this. What the courts decide is what we should follow. And that is an unpopular position with some Republicans, but I think that would go a long way towards getting Democrats to show up, because they don't know if they're going to boot them or if they're just going to ignore a court order, because they do have the power to do that. But again, the Democrats need to show up. I mean, there's a political argument to be made here that no matter what the Republicans do, the Democrats just don't want Lisa Dameth to be Speaker, and it doesn't matter what the votes are, and they're perfectly fine with it not happening. Now, is that true, or is that just a position? I don't know.
This morning, an update to what Pat just said. Republicans did hold a press conference, and they said if Steve Simon tries to adjourn them, they would replace him. They said, quote, if he oversteps his authority, you're subject to removal and replacement by this body. So depending if it goes that far.
Isn't that his authority, though?
Well, so this is again, there's what the text says, what has always been done in the past. But the very act of what is a quorum, okay? Usually, whenever you have a legislative chamber, whatever decision the presiding officer makes is subject to review by the body. Right? That's why if you got a mad king in a legislative branch, the legislature can say, no, that's wrong. So that's one dynamic. The second is, how does he adjourn the session? He doesn't have a vote. He can't make that motion.
Right.
So do Republicans sit there and go, we're going to sit, and I'm just making this up, okay? No one suggested this to me. Do they sit there and go, no, we're not going to make that motion. We're going to wait until you have to go to the bathroom. And when you leave the chair, the pro tem's going to go up there and preside over the chamber, and we're going to do it. No, it's again, that's an escalation, and it's kind of funny to giggle about, but like, what are they going to do? And in this situation where everyone is out escalating everyone, how does this end? And let's just say Republicans prevail, right?
Yeah.
Either Steve Simon, he says, okay, there is a quorum, or they remove him as the presiding officer, put someone else in there and determine there's a quorum. And then the courts uphold it, and Lisa Dameth's the Speaker in a 67-66 legislature. You still need a 68th vote to pass anything, right? So doesn't it kind of make sense that everybody involved should kind of be calming down and trying to figure out how to work with each other instead of...
That seems too smart.
Right, but I mean, like, certainly having your own swearing-in ceremony in secret at the History Center, where, by the way, data practices laws don't apply, so you can't look at the video or photo footage from there.
I'm sure that's an odd coincidence.
Great.
Right? So,
Awesome.
okay, does that really make sense?
No.
Like, is that a good... No, it doesn't, right? But on the other hand, has any of this escalation made sense from anyone?
To me, you've heard us enough to know that I think they're all on the third rail and they exist in their own universe. And
I have a
nothing
question
to do with the rest of us.
So I have a
This is
question
their
about
theater.
that. Joe, that's my question. So if they don't show up, Pat, are they doing other things on our behalf, or are they getting paid to watch TV? Why are we paying them if they're not showing up?
Well, this is exactly the talking point the Republicans have, is they say, hey, if you're not showing up, you're not doing your job, you're vacating your position, so we're going to recall you.
Well, they shouldn't be paid.
Okay, the Democrats would say, well, we're working back in our districts. We're drafting bills. We're just not showing up in the legislative chamber. That's only one of the things we do. But just putting all that aside, do you get paid? Do you not get paid? They have to work together to get anything done. And it would be a really good time for both these sides to de-escalate. Because you guys, I don't see the courts picking a fight in this winter. I think the judicial branch is going to be very reluctant to step in and say, Republicans, you unlawfully removed Steve Simon as the presiding officer, or Democrats, you can't get paid unless you show up. I don't see that. I think that they're going to sit back and say, just like adult, like parents, kids, go outside, go play in the street, do whatever, but get out of here.
Do they care? Do they care that we all think they're despicable? Does that figure in at all?
Who's they?
All of them, both sides. I think they're all despicable for behaving this way. That doesn't matter, does it?
Well, first of all, it matters. But again, I've come back to my original point. For you and the public right now, it's difficult to discern what is positioning for negotiations and what is real.
Yeah.
Right? So, I still find it very hard to believe that no Democrats are going to show up for the first day of session tomorrow. That is such a break in custom and tradition, and it opens up just a well of bad will going into this session. I mean, we've got some serious challenges in our state. And as of right now, they're going to need Republican votes to change the law and to spend any money. So I have to assume that cooler heads will prevail, that this is a negotiating tactic. On the other hand, I can't imagine Republicans unseating a legislator absent a court order saying that it was vacated. Just going in and saying we're replacing our judgment for the courts. Now, people will make that argument, and you'll see them on social media doing that. I just think that's an extraordinarily bad precedent, and it's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. But this is the pathway we're on. What is going to happen in the next 24 hours? Was everybody just positioning for negotiations, and then they're going to figure this out? They're trying to get the best deal for setting up this session? Or have they painted themselves into a corner where now neither of them have an ability to strategically retreat? And
as of this moment, I'm going with the corner theory.
That they're not going to show up tomorrow.
Right.
And then, and again, this sets off a cascading set of decisions, because you can see a scenario where reasonable Republicans who are arguing what I just said, where it's like, hey, you can't overturn a court's ruling, right? Well, if the Democrats don't show up to prevent Republicans from winning 67 to 66, then they're going to feel emboldened to say, well, we're going to boot Tapke out then. And they can do that later on in session, right? So there's always a recrimination. There's always an escalation for how this can get worse. It's just a matter of when people figure out that peace is better than war.
Did you drive that piece of shit electric car over here?
I knew that was coming.
It's like,
is there enough range for you to get back to?
How do you keep
The
warming
suburbs.
that? You got a little wood
Do you
heater in
have a
there?
heater in there, or is it coal fired, or what? How does that work?
I got like a charcoal briquette brigade underneath it. No,
In a coffee can.
Yeah.
no, I will. So I've got 195,000 miles. on
Yeah,
it now.
you keep bragging about
It's
that.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
flipping awesome,
That
dude.
thing- You'll be going down the freeway and that thing will separate
Well,
itself.
it's interesting though. What is the battery difference, in all seriousness, between summer months and winter months? The life, I guess.
Well, just like so when it's colder out, there's more.
like
what's called-
today.
Yeah, I mean, so fully charged when I got my car, it would go 290, right?
Okay.
But you don't fully charge it because it's hard on the battery. So the working range was like 270. Well, now my working range is about 210. But I've had the car for 10 years.
Sure.
But when it's colder out, the range will shorten.
Sure.
And so
Okay.
it just, at about like 45 degrees is when you start noticing a difference. And then the colder it gets, just the range gets shorter to where if it's 20 below and you park the car outside, that'll knock the range down to like about 110, 115 miles.
Oh, wow.
So-
That's like the worst of the worst.
Do you feel better than everybody else when you're driving one of those things?
I feel like I got a better car than you.
And
you don't. That's okay.
Yeah, I disagree. And another question: when you go by a building that's all glass and you can see your reflection, do you look over and give yourself an up nod? Hey, buddy, you
Hey, look at me. I'm
I
you
got
look
a-
good.
Here's what I
Electric
know.
car.
I got a car that goes 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. It saves me money compared to a gas mobile. Yeah, okay, there's a little bit of an environmental benefit, but as Joe always points out, that environmental benefit is on the backs of children's slave labor
That's right.
in Uganda or whatever they get it.
Little
So-
10-year-olds.
No, but I just listen. I just, as someone who's driven an electric car,
Apparently,
for
you can
10
get over that, huh?
Yeah, it's life's about trade-offs.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Pat, there's been an emergency meeting of the Executive Council of the Minnesota Grocers Association. Can you stop by now?
Thank you, Pat. You're always welcome. It was very helpful. You're a voice of reason.
I try. Hey, thanks again for having me, guys, and I hope you have a good
Pat,
day.
I'm sorry about the hurtful comments I made before.
No,
we went
you're
on
not
there.
sorry. You know it.
Guy was in the room for about 7 seconds, and Kenny's already out.
I did warn him when we walked down. I said, "You're going to get the business today," but I said it's because you're now part of the club. That's why.
I will say, I don't, not to get off the electric car thing here a little bit, but like for me, it works out good. But the government's got to get out of the business of mandating these things.
Well, of course they should.
But they do.
It just proves to me you're just not much of a car guy, and that's fine. That's
No,
that's okay.
I'm the only guy in my family who doesn't work on cars. Everyone else does.
Yeah, well, the reason you don't is 'cause you got this thing you can't work on.
But no, the reason why I have it is so I don't have to work on it.
Right, but you couldn't work on it.
I don't want to.
Is it a first-year model? What year is it?
No, I bought this in 2014.
When did they come out? 09,
12,
10?
I think 12,
Oh,
12 or
12.
11.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, it's, for me, I always joke with my dad. I show him my hands and I go, Dad, these are the hands of a thinker, not a worker.
Right.
Look at that. I mean, come on.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. We'll see
Pat
you guys later.
Garofalo. We'll return.
Thank you to North American Banking Company for their extended partnership into 2025. I've made the switch to North American Banking Company, and that's because I got tired of just being a number to my big national bank, and they want to do the same for you, and in some cases, maybe even your business. I like being able to go to any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, or Maple Grove. They offer all of the services as the other big national banks. It doesn't matter whether you're looking to buy a home, finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car, gas or electric that you've been thinking about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. They also offer the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And they are also locally owned and operated. And that means loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities, not sent out of state. So this helps business owners solve problems quickly and expand their business with confidence. Check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender.
I wrote down.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine with Joe Soucheray.
So, continuing our discussion from last week, it turns out there is a Seafoam product for bat trees. It's called a sticker. You put one on your bat tree tender, and you'll figure it works great. I'm so funny. You know what works even better, though, is the Seafoam motor treatment. That's why that seldom used plow truck of yours is going to snap to life when you finally get to use it. And Seafoam, it actually works great for all of our fossil fuel fired cylinders that don't see daily use. Why, you ask? I'm going to tell you right now. It helps prevent poor engine performance. It cleans up that junky gas. It prevents common problems. It cleans, it lubricates, and it preserves ignition vapors. Seafoam motor treatment safe for all fossil fired cylinders, and even better, it's available all over the globe. If you want to be a shut-in, that's cool. And running to town, not on the top of your list, that's just fine. Go to seafoamworks.com, order it in. A wonderful product in a world of bad gas. The GLer's best friend, Seafoam.
Here's John Haidt.
Thank you, Joe. This update brought to you by North American Banking Company. One sports note, we've already hit on it today. Winner go home tonight for the Vikings in the opening round of the NFL playoffs. The Vikings play the Rams in Glendale, Arizona. The game moved because of California's devastating wildfires. They did play during the regular season, with the Rams handing the Vikings one of their 3 losses. The Rams winning 30-20 in October. It's a 7 o'clock game, televised on ABC and ESPN.
One other sports note.
I'd go with I'd have our defensive players really give Stafford a lot of grief about his house burning.
It's be an interesting approach.
Right. You smell that, Stafford? Is that your house?
That ain't hot dogs cooking.
That's not funny, is
It's
it?
not funny, Joe. It's really, it's in poor taste.
Yeah.
In news, as we've been talking about, Minnesota House Republicans are slamming what they claim is a covert swearing-in ceremony by House DFLers last night. Speaker-designate Lisa Demuth and Majority Leader-designate Harry Niska released a statement Sunday criticizing the DFL for swearing-in antics. Demuth said state law is clear. Swearing in happens at noon on the day the legislature convenes. Any attempt to subvert that is illegitimate. This entire controversy sparked by House Republicans gaining a 67-66 advantage after a judge ruled a DFLer who won a House seat in the East Metro was ineligible to take office because he doesn't live in the district. One of the members sworn in was DFL Rep. Brad Tapke, whose 14-vote victory in Shakopee House seat is being challenged in court by Republicans over questions about 20 missing absentee ballots. Republicans want the court to declare a vacancy in the seat that would require a special election to be called. Scott County judge is expected to rule on that case possibly as soon as this afternoon. Meanwhile, there is a new agreement on how control of the temporarily split Minnesota Senate will work. In a statement released last night, caucus leaders for both the GOP and DFL say they have come to an agreement that is expected to be passed on Tuesday. Meanwhile, top House Republicans this morning blasted a letter by Secretary of State Steve Simon theorizing that 68 members are required to do business in the House. That letter, a letter responding to Simon, signed by House Speaker Demuth and Harry Niska, rejected the DFL interpretation of a quorum and accused the Secretary of State of joining, quote, an attack on our democratic institutions.
I think if they were all as reasoned as Garofalo, we'd have no problems.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just get it done.
Well, he has some brightness working for him.
I did love the fact.
I didn't understand the Survivor bet.
I told him the second I saw him, I said, you know, Joe's going to give you S about wearing that Vikings jersey today. He goes, yeah, I'm fully prepared for that.
That was bold. I wasn't expecting that.
What, the
from
Viking
an adult?
shirt?
Yeah, from a grown man.
Yeah.
Well, I take back what I said about him.
He's
not that reason.
I didn't wear mine today, Kenny, because I'll put mine on later today for the game. But I didn't wear mine because I'd have to deal with both Joe and Pat today.
Yeah.
How did Pat get along well with his fellow Republicans?
I believe he did.
Yeah, very level-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota recreational marijuana dispensaries were supposed to open sometime in early 2025 this year, but Senator Mark Corrin, a Republican from North Branch, told our buddies at 5 Eyewitness News there likely is going to be a significant delay in that process. Corrin said a recent court ruling stopped the issuance of licenses for people who wish to sell and grow marijuana for the adult recreational market until state lawmakers approve rules and policies for the program, which could take months. Corrin said also in his opinion, doors for those dispensaries are quite a ways off from opening soon. He said it likely, in his opinion, will be sometime in 2026. Stephen Egan owns and operates a company called Bella Blami, which consults cannabis sellers and growers. He told 5 Eyewitness News he agrees with Corrin's assessment. He said there's always some nuances when you're starting a new business, so I think it's fair to say we're not looking at doors opening until the beginning of 2026.
So
I'm
they're-
just guessing. Oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so they're using our philosophy. They're just one day closer.
What's hysterical about this is that they opened up growing, and they opened up, what did we say? You can have 4 pounds on hand. That means if you're looking for a bag of weed, finding one on the black market, not a problem. Yeah. And prices are probably dropped through the basement.
Kenny's
really,
Discount House of Pot.
It's really really never been a problem.
Yeah, it hasn't, but it really opened it. Who's waiting for these dispensaries to open up now? Because everybody's growing weed.
Yep. I don't know. It's a world with which I am not familiar. Those days have come and gone for me.
Where's your farm at?
I used to pick up the ditch weed.
Ditch weed.
The shake
Yeah.
with the stems and the seeds. Tastes like gasoline because that's how it came into the country in a gas tank.
Plus, I
Wasn't
kept
that
it.
easy?
I kept it in the trunk of a 1954 Ford, and it just really didn't work out too well.
Isn't that how Easy Rider, right? What did they have in the gas tank? Was it Coke or weed?
I think Coke.
I don't remember. Yeah. It is amazing now when you walk around. I was at an establishment Saturday. About 1 out of every 10 people you walk by them and you get a contact high. There's
a lot of weed
it's just
smell
amazing.
out there. Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah,
It's a great cologne.
Yep.
There's a very icky story. Can I say icky?
No.
Icky story from the Star Tribune. A Blaine woman has been spared prison and ordered to spend a few days in jail for sexually assaulting 2 teenage hockey players in a Roseville hotel room last winter. 39-year-old Allison Chardon was sentenced in Ramsey County District Court after pleading guilty to third-degree criminal sexual conduct in connection with the sexual encounters with the 15-year-old boys from Colorado. Judge Joy Barcher gave Chardon credit for the 5 days she spent in jail after her arrest and ordered her to serve 2 more weekends in jail and perform 200 hours of community service. She also must receive mental health treatment, have no unsupervised contact with juvenile boys, and be registered for 10 years as a predatory offender. According to the charges, while in a hotel hot tub with the teens on January 14th of 2024, Chardon told them she was having marital problems. After the boys went to their rooms, she sent a Snapchat message to one of the boys saying she got into an argument with her husband and wanted to stay in one of their rooms. When she got there, she started talking about, quote, sex and stuff, according to the boys. Got in bed with 2 of the 3 and asked them how sexually active they were. She then sexually assaulted 2 of the teens and asked them to perform sexual acts on her. She admitted having sexual contact with 2 of the boys, asked them for a condom, but she, quote, claimed she wasn't going to go through with the process. Why don't we take a break and check in with our friend, Mr. Reavers here.
Boy, thanks for that lead-in, John.
And go.
I really appreciate it.
You run into that a lot in the high school basketball situation? I
Joe.
hope not.
Joe.
I hope not.
Aren't you the one that
What's
38 seconds ago
I'm sorry.
waved
Follow
off
your
all
advice.
of
You're
us?
right. You're right.
Own advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, GLers, have we got something new and exciting for you in 2025? This year, we're celebrating our biggest fans of the podcast by naming one member of our town council the GLer of the week.
You win
every
something?
week throughout all of 2025. Yes, you do, Joe.
You can win big things.
Make sure that you tune in every single Friday when the GLer of the week will be recognized on the show by Joe for being one of the biggest fans in all of Gumption County.
I get to do it this week.
Yes, you do. This
Yeah.
Friday debuts our first ever GLer of the Week. The GLer of the Week will be picked from the list of all annual town council members with an active membership. All right? If you are already an annual member, great. You don't have to do anything at all. Monthly members, you just need to update your subscription to an annual subscription before Monday. And of course, if you're not a member yet, well, now is the time to join to become to get on our list, and become the first ever GLer of the week. Along with getting a salute on the show, this month's winner is also going to get a gift box from our good friends at Masters Maples. It's $50 in maple syrup goodness shipped right to your door.
Is that the gift this week?
Correct. Also, for all new members, don't forget you get that $10. Hey, Rook, let me get that for you. The $10 Fratelloni's gift card for all new subscribers to the Garage Logic Town Council. Sign up right now at garagelogic.com.
Where was the teacher
I gotta
thing?
get my skate sharp.
It wasn't a teacher, you
Teacher?
dipsh-
What the hell are you talking
It was
about?
a mom. It was a mom on a hockey trip.
Oh, no. I thought it was a teacher.
What?
What
You're
happened
not, you're
here?
not listening again, are you, Rick?
Did you hear the dude's story?
You know, are you paying any attention?
No. 'Cause
What
I
are you
can't-
doing?
Nothing. What
Why
you
are they
doing?
guys off?
Because
What are you doing?
I'm trying to reset my board, so just chill out.
Why are they guys off?
Why are they?
I'm making up a language.
Joe.
Why are they guys off?
Sorry, Kenny, my fault. I'm trying to reset this. I didn't turn your mic on.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What hotel? Not the one I stay in, is it?
It was
That's a
at
classy joint.
The hotel was in there. I just didn't want to say it. The hotel is in the 2500 block of North Cleveland Avenue.
That's about the one where Kenny stays.
No.
Does it?
This thing happened again. I can't. I'm hitting stop scripts. I hit the brake to go into break, and then it just kept looping again. And I hit rejoin.
But I'm not on Cleveland. I'm on one of those
Nothing's happening.
frontage roads.
I was 17, my old man was 55. If you do the math between the two of us, that's 72 years alive. An eternity, so it seemed to me. How could anything live that long? Now I say my folks were only 84 the year that they passed on. For a little while it seems you got time to choose your dreams. Pretty soon you look around and you see 100 years ain't what it used to be. And my grandpa Roy, when he was a boy in 1904, he was taught by men who fought in the actual Civil War. And only 8 decades passed, and my high school class put the tassels on the other side. Started on our way full of naivete on the great American ride. The months and years slide past, each more quickly than the last. Pretty soon you look around and you'll see 100 years ain't what it used to be. Oh, Johnny!
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Johnny, hey.
separate vacations.
VACATION. And we're having
AC.
We're going to need something for YouTube intermissions as long as this equipment keeps breaking down.
Yeah, we're at 3:08 now.
Dill will be submitting some stuff as soon as Dan lets me know we're deciding.
I want a film of you and Dill having a guitar off.
Actually, we're not shooting film. It's just music.
No, I know, but I'll have somebody film you two playing.
I see. Oh, I see. Uh-huh. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Well, I can't say that anymore. I've been watching games this year for some reason.
Take a siesta.
Really hate those kickoffs. Who was the idiot that decided to do kickoffs that way? What a
The
complete waste
safety
of time.
committee.
My God.
I hate it.
What happened to the old game?
Get us back into it. Okay. We'll
The
figure it out later.
old game.
All right. Gents,
Yes.
we are technically live on our YouTube channel, but let me play something so that we can get back on the podcast, all right? Thank you for your understanding.
Oh, I see. Do we have a commercial here?
No, just let's get back into news. Where did all my stuff go?
My stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like YouTube can hear us.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, let's just go.
Just let's go. All right, here we go.
Let's just go.
Here's
Come
Johnny
on,
Height.
just let's go.
Here's Johnny Height in the newsroom.
Well, thanks. To be back again is a complete honor, and oh, never mind. In national and international stories, a growing force of firefighters moving into the Los Angeles area today as more powerful winds were expected to trigger new wildfires. It could set back the recent progress made in containing blazes that have destroyed thousands of homes and killed at least, now they're saying, 24 people, but more deaths are expected. Crews and equipment arrived from across the U.S. and from Canada and Mexico, including water trucks and planes that drop firefighting chemicals, as the Weather Service warned that coming days could be particularly dangerous. They're predicting severe fire conditions that will last through Wednesday. Wind gusts in the mountains should reach almost 70 miles an hour. The most dangerous day will be tomorrow, according to fire behavior analyst Dennis Burns. The relative calm Sunday allowed some people to return to previously evacuated areas, but even as containment increased in the worst of the fires, more bad news emerged from the ashes. The death toll, surging late Sunday. At least 16 people still missing to go along with the 24 deaths. Fierce Santa Ana winds have been largely blamed for turning the wildfires sparked last week into infernos that leveled entire neighborhoods around the nation's second largest city, where there's been no significant rainfall in about 8 months.
Jan, we also have this news from California. Not all is trouble. They still have some good news.
But the thing is, for sanctuary cities and states, they complain about the cost, but they continue to add services. I want to show you California. As of yesterday, California has added a health care benefit for migrants. They are now going to extend free health care to migrants between the ages of 26 and 49. That's going to cover 700,000 additional people and cost the state $2.6 billion each year. Now, that's added onto that's added onto California's deficit, which is already $68 billion.
So if you're an illegal there, even one with a blowtorch caught igniting fires, you'll be able to get some health care.
There's been a lot of pushback, Joe, on socials from the left saying that the right is getting it wrong by saying these fires were due to improper forest management, misspending, et cetera, et cetera. They're really pushing back on that.
Well, good. They can have these people then. Good luck to you.
And speaking of social, I know you don't have Facebook or TikTok, but the videos we've been seeing on Facebook of the various aircraft used to put these fires out has been absolutely remarkable.
I've seen plenty of them. They're fun to watch.
Oh, my God, these hotshot pilots, they're like fighter pilots. They're amazing.
Now, I have a question. The other day, didn't John, I think it was you found something that suggested seawater was not a good
Yeah, it was
agent?
both of us, yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
well, then why are the planes loading up with seawater?
Well, you can't you can't move it by pipe. That was the thing.
That's
'cause
right. It corrupted the
corrodes
pipes.
Yeah,
That's
corrodes
it.
the
That's
pipes.
it. Okay.
Corruption.
After the initial crush of personal announcements for President-elect Trump's incoming administration, the nominations process officially gets underway this week. Many of the nominees have met with senators individually. Now they'll go before the committees overseeing the agencies that the president-elect wants them to run. Among the nominees who will appear this week are Kristi Noem. She's up for the Homeland Security head. Pete Hegseth, Department of Defense. Doug Burgum, Interior Department. And Pam Bondi, Attorney General. Meanwhile, incoming senior Trump administration officials have begun questioning career civil servants who work on the White House National Security Council about how they voted in 2024, their political contributions, and whether they've made social media posts that could be considered incriminating by President-elect Donald Trump's team, according to a source familiar with the matter. At least some of those non-political employees have begun packing up their belongings since being asked about their loyalty after they had earlier been given indications they would be asked to stay on at the NSC in the new administration. Trump's picks for National Security Advisor, Florida Rep. Mike Waltz, in recent days publicly signals his intention to get rid of all non-political appointees and career intelligence officials serving on the NSC by Inauguration Day. Within the last hour or so, federal judge Eileen Cannon denying a request to extend an injunction banning the Justice Department from releasing a volume of a report former special counsel Jack Smith issued on President-elect Trump's efforts to overturn the election. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon means the Justice Department can release the portion of the Smith report that deals with Trump's efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss as soon as midnight tonight, barring any further legal action from the president-elect or his team. So MAGA bickering. Trump's former senior advisor Steve Bannon is taking swipes at Elon Musk, claiming he will personally see that the billionaire is, in his words, kicked out of the president-elect's inner circle before his inauguration, which of course is only 7 days away? Yeah, 1 week from today.
Week from today, John.
MAGA infighting intensified yesterday after Bannon criticized Musk's support of the H-1B program, which allows U.S. employers to issue temporary non-immigrant visas with the intent of filling skill gaps in sectors that require highly specialized knowledge. Bannon says he's a truly evil person. Stopping him has become a personal issue for me. Before, since he put in so much money, I was prepared to tolerate it, but not anymore. Musk spent more than $270 million of his own money to help re-elect Trump throughout the election cycle. The online war of words began spiraling last month after Musk endorsed a post calling American workers to the R word to perform high-skilled tech jobs for which foreign workers were being hired. Sam Moore, who had classic hits with the soul duo Sam and Dave, died Friday in Coral Gables, Florida. He was 89. Moore took the tenor part on perennials that are familiar even to generations not yet born during the duo's heyday in the 60s, including Hold On, I'm Coming, Soul Man, and I Thank You. Sam and Dave were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992, received the Recording Academy's Lifetime Achievement Honor in 2019. In a 2020 interview with the Library of Congress to commemorate Soul Man being added to the National Recording Registry, Moore recalled the origins of the tune and how it became a catchphrase. He said it was meant to be race-related at first, but I thought at the time the song was about girls. Harmonious on stage, Moore and Prater proved a contentious pair in the wings. In fact, they hated each other. They split up in 1970, reteamed for another uncomfortable decade later. And Prater later replaced Moore with another vocalist, oddly enough named Sam Daniels, and they were called Sam and Dave also. Moore struggled for years with drug addiction, but he toured with regularity and recovered in the early 80s, made high-profile appearances after with rock stars like Lou Reed. Highest-profile latter-day studio work came alongside Bruce Springsteen, who employed him on 4 tracks on the album Human Touch in 1992.
89?
89 years old.
Does everybody do the math to where they're at as soon as you hear a death like that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 30 years for me. I don't think I'll make it.
Hey, coffee. We talk about this a lot. Coffee, sometimes it's good for you, right? Sometimes it's
It
bad
depends
for you.
on the week.
Yeah, we got a new one now.
Yeah.
People who, and this is a good one if you drink coffee. People who get their coffee hit in the morning reap benefits that are not seen in those who have shots later in the day, according to the first major study into the health benefits of coffee at different times. Analysis.
I only drink it in the morning.
Never after 10.
Never after 10.
Analysis of the coffee
The door is closed. The coffee door is closed.
analysis of the coffee consumption of more than 40,000 adults found that morning coffee drinkers were 16% less likely to die from any cause and 31% less likely to die from cardiovascular disease during a 10-year follow-up period than those who went without. But the benefits of heart health appeared to vanish to people who drank coffee throughout the day, the researchers found. Sorry, Kenny.
Why can't you just stop at 10 in the morning? Then you get the 16% increase.
Kenny, I'll help you. It's one of Kenny's last few joys that he gets to have. Just don't take that from him.
As long as I've known you, why don't you just quit smoking? Just quit. It's, why don't you just quit drinking coffee?
I didn't say quit drinking coffee. Just stop at 10 o'clock.
Everything's so easy for you.
If the mayor
No,
is
actually, it's not.
If the mayor is in his kitchen, let's say it's a Saturday morning. All right,
Yes.
it's 9:48 and the cup is still full. Is
Yep.
it chug time or?
I'll go past 10.
Well, you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know about the coffee crash and how you can use that to get to sleep?
No.
It's wonderful.
I don't know about it.
Oh, it's a quick come down, and you can feel it, and your eyes get heavy, and you get to your chair, and you got a good 90-minute nap right there.
Oh, the old siesta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
According to the study, morning coffee drinkers had a lower risk of death, whether they had 2 or 3 cups or a bunch of coffee. So you can drink 2 cups. You can
John,
drink
this
8
story
cups.
is over. John,
It's good for you.
I'm up to
Just-
3 now. I have
we're done.
3 a day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's breaking news.
All before 10?
This is what I do
Yes.
every day. One of these.
Big thermos full.
Oh,
I bet it's good. You make good coffee.
Starbucks French roast.
Must be good.
It's the best, man.
Yeah.
Oof. And Blue Origin called off the debut launch of its massive new rocket early today because of technical trouble. The 320-foot New Glenn rocket was supposed to blast off before dawn with a prototype satellite from Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, but launch controllers had to deal with an unspecified rocket issue in the final minutes of the countdown and ran out of time. Once the countdown clock was halted, they immediately began draining all the fuel from the rocket. Blue Origin did not immediately set a new launch date, saying the team needed more time to resolve the problem. The test flight already had been delayed by rough seas that posed a risk to the company's plan to land the first stage booster on a floating platform in the Atlantic. New Glenn, of course, named after John Glenn. It's 5 times taller than Blue Origin's new Shepard rocket that carries paying customers to the edge of space from Texas. Amazon's Jeff Bezos founded the company 25 years ago. He took part in the countdown this morning from Mission Control, located at the rocket factory just outside the gates of NASA's Kennedy Space Center. No matter what happens, Bezos said, we're still going to pick ourselves up and keep going.
I hope your garage door is fit these frigid mornings. If it is not, get a hold of your garage door guy. Precision Garage Doors. The GLers have weighed in by email, and they really love the service they've been getting from Precision Garage Door. They serve western Wisconsin. They serve the metro area. They advise you when they're on their way. They try to get it all done in one visit. They don't have to return to the shop for a bolt. They really have been your garage door guy. And if you need a new door, they do that. The on-door, the garage new door.
there you go. Goes up and down.
It goes up and down. And then when you're on site, that's free.
Right there. They don't
you
bring
don't
you
bring
the
the
door.
garage to them.
No.
They have a model of doors. No, they have. Boy, they have doors for every budget. They have doors for every budget, all kinds of models, and they have a garage door designer. So put this number in your contacts. Don't listen to me.
Hello?
Don't listen to him either.
Right.
You need a garage door. You need a door
Opener.
or
What if I need a sign?
I can get you a sign. They don't do signs. They just take care of the garage door. 612-263-6985. Or if you're you got to do it on the computer.
Yep.
You go to Precision Door MN, that's one word, precisiondoormn.com. Don't say that I sent you after this ad because I didn't do too well, but I still maintain they're your best garage door guy.
No, they're going to be okay.
I hope so. You know that
You'll learn more here by accident.
you know that Cheap Trick is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Sure.
Okay.
Got in what? This year? Last year?
I don't know.
In the last 2 years, they got in.
I
They're-
want you to want me.
Their singer, Robin Zander, sang the anthem last night in Tampa prior to the Tampa-Washington game.
Is he a Tampa native?
I don't know, but he did it was wonderful. It was a straight anthem. No hijinks, no
Love that.
nothing.
Cut to the chase.
The gal that did the only one I saw yesterday was before the Buffalo game. She did the elevator voice.
He did, and he sang, might as well have been a kid in school. It was just a straight anthem.
Nice.
It was very nice.
Playing guitar?
Straight anthem, sang.
Nice.
No guitar.
No butter.
Any jingle
No
bells?
hijinks.
Robin's from Beloit, Wisconsin, actually.
Yeah, but their whole band was based in Rockford, Illinois, wasn't
Illinois. Yep.
it? Isn't that where Nielsen is?
Yes, sir. He still is there.
Why did they get rid of Bun E. Carlos, who was a fantastic drummer?
He had some issues. He got arrested a couple times
Really?
for owning drugs, having drugs, and I think probably he wasn't doing his job.
Speaking of drugs, I've got a great Rick Nielsen story, but I'll save it for some other time because look at what time it is.
Only
you in a
because
hurry?
they come to us.
Got a date?
Only because they come to us from the traveling Lymans who are in Lake Las Vegas, Nevada.
Speaking of the Lymans, very quickly, and music, Tom is a town council member. He says wood in the cold Hey, now. Decades ago during the winter, I left my 2-piece pool cue in its case in the car. When I took it inside to use it, I put it together. It felt different. I rolled it on the pool table, and it was warped. John's right about guitar wood in the cold.
According to John, what the difference would have been had he brought it into the house and just not rolled it on the table yet. Wait 4 hours to roll it on the table.
Right.
Well, no, because it's protected right now, and it's encased in a lot of crap. Right now.
Hey, Chris, do you happen to have the time and the temp?
On this day.
Yeah, as long as I get the time and the temp.
On this day,
January 13th.
1944, the cruiser Duluth was launched in Newport News, Virginia, christened by Ella T. Hatch, wife of Duluth Mayor Edward H. Hatch. In May 1945, the ship became part of the U.S. fleet in World War II.
And great grandparents to his first year survivor winner, Richard Hatch.
Really?
Yes.
On this day,
Very sad that
on this day,
I think he made that up, but Joe.
in 1978, this day,
January 13th.
Hubert H. Humphrey died.
I remember that.
Humphrey was born in Wallace, South Dakota on May 27, 1911. Do you know that Jimmy Carter was the first U.S. president born in a hospital?
Really?
Mm-hmm. So here's Humphrey. He was born May 27, 1911, state campaign manager for Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1944, and a founder of the anti-communist group Americans for Democratic Action. Boy, he couldn't even be a DFLer today. Humphrey entered the national spotlight after delivering a rousing address on civil rights at the 1948 DNC convention. He served in the Senate beginning in 1948 and was elected vice president under Lyndon B. Johnson. In 1964, he lost to Richard Nixon in a close race for the presidency in 1968.
You gotta get something on him.
And then in 1970 was reelected to the Senate, where he served until his death. What did he do for a living? What was his profession?
He was a jeweler. And he would go to Africa and buy raw diamonds and then
I don't
shape
need
them.
you answering from that room. Yeah, anybody? Anybody?
I tried
He was
to
a
hatchery.
pharmacist.
I think he
He's a
worked
what,
at the
John?
hatchery.
Pharmacist.
That's correct.
Yeah, pharmaceutical.
On this
But you
day-
said Jimmy Carter was the first president born in a hospital,
That's what I said.
where all the other ones born in a manger?
Yeah, as opposed to a cab or a sod hut. What are you talking about
I suppose you, in those days, you were born at home.
there? Oh, gross.
Hey, what do you got scheduled tomorrow? I could have a baby.
When I'm right in the living room.
I wouldn't sit there if I were you. Carpet still hasn't dried.
Yeah, let's
And
throw
finally,
those towels
on
out.
this day,
Jan 13.
in 1982, nature writer and environmentalist Sigurd Olson died in Ely. He was born in Chicago in 1899. He was not a pharmacist.
Whoops.
Olson served as a canoe guide in the Boundary Waters region and was active in environmental issues beginning in the 1920s, playing a prominent role in the battle for federal protection of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, Wilderness Area, Boundary Waters Area, and serving as president of the Wilderness Society. I've read much of his work,
Dissertations.
and I find it enjoyable.
He was a close friend and drinking buddy of Ernest Hemingway. A little-known story, they burned Ely to the ground in the late 1940s.
It's not a true story, but it's a good one. Thank you, GLers. God, help me.
A lot of disinformation.
Honest
Go
to
Vikes!
God.
He
was a
Honest-
pharmacist.
He also was a pharmacist.
What are we doing now? Hey, Garage Logic had a record number of viewers on our YouTube channel today. Did you
What,
know that
12?
Garage Logic has a YouTube channel? Joe, we were almost at 400 at one point today. Watching the show live each
announced that.
and
Until we took a break.
There's 400 people waiting for a bus right out there.
Really? Where are they going?
way to get behind the momentum of the Garage Logic YouTube channel.
Just sabotage your own show.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What a
there for you.
Here we
meathead.
go. Let's go.
40,000.
You can subscribe or don't, I guess. It's up to you. It's a free country. But you can find it. Just search Garage Logic on YouTube and all of the social media channels for that
Let's
matter.
get those people waiting for the bus signed up.
Rip the hell out of all of that as well. It's all there for you.
Not ripping. I'm saying, what the hell here?
Search for Garage
What
Logic.
the hell?
Or don't.